Hey, welcome to tonight's show. I'm Todd Graves, co-founder of Graves Golf, and welcome to Plane Talk. Tonight we're going to talk about the basic single plane golf swing and how I made a discovery back in the day when I was trying to figure out one very important thing about Mo Norman's golf swing, which was how can I feel exactly what Mo Norman is doing in the single plane swing. Now, that was a very important question to me because think about it this way, and I always kind of laugh at when I look back when I was learning Mo's swing, as the goal is really to find out how to learn what he was doing and then feeling. I used lots of video. I spent lots of time studying, obviously, Mo's swing and spending time with him. But here was what was really significant about that time was one thing. If you ask this question about, why was Mo the greatest ball striker that's ever played the game, and recognized by Tiger Woods and Vijay Singh and Lee Trevino and Ken Venturi, all these guys recognized Mo as one of the greatest ball strikers that's ever lived. Now, the real answer to that is not how did he have this great golf swing, but how did he deliver the club to impact more consistently and more precisely than any other player that's ever lived, because impact is the most important moment of the swing. So, if you really think about it, if I can take the club and I can deliver it to this most important moment, impact, consistently to the same spot, and think about that for just a minute, the club's coming just to impact the exact same way every single time. If I can do that, you can hit a golf ball longer, you'll hit it straighter, more accurately, and because the club's in the same spot, you hit it more consistently in your distances. All those things matter when it comes to ball striking. So what's interesting about Mo, he did all those things better than anybody that's ever lived. And I had that question, how did he figure that out, right? How did he figure out how to get the club to impact? So one day, I was on the video, I was using video, and I was studying Mo's swing like I always did. But back in the day, it wasn't as easy as today where you can grab your iPhone. I had a TV screen, and I was looking at the TV screen. I had a VHS player, the old VHS players where you put the VHS tape in. And I'm playing the video, and I'm kind of looking at it, and I kind of noticed something. I noticed that when Mo took the club away, that there was a particular way he took the club back. Like I was watching his backswing. I just started drawing some lines. I'm going to show you this in just a minute, that I discovered the pivot point. In other words, there's an area in your body just above your lead hip where even though I'm right here, I still refer to that point in my body. Even right here, believe it or not, I still have a reference point to the lead side of my body. And as I come down, obviously, you'll notice at impact that the club is going to the lead side of my body again. So throughout my golf swing, I have this area on the lead side of my body that the club references when I'm swinging at address, in the backswing, even in the through swing. And what's interesting about that is, isn't that where the club is pointing at impact? So in other words, I have the ability to reference impact, that most important moment, at every moment in my swing. This was a huge discovery for me. So I want to start this webinar by talking to you and showing you a video. I went to the range and I want to show you exactly how this pivot point and this club-to-body relationship works. When I saw Mo Norman hit a golf ball for the very first time back in 1994, one of the first things I recognized was just how pure the contact of the golf ball was, how straight he hit it, and how efficient his golf swing was. And I remember sitting there, and I used to take video of his swing because one of my ambitions was to figure out a way to just feel exactly what Mo was doing in his golf swing.
Watch this, Todd. Oh.
Now, if you kind of step back a second and you think about, well, what makes a great ball striker? What made Mo Norman a great ball striker? And it's what I call the club-to-body relationship. Now, what exactly is a club-to-body relationship? Well, think of it this way. Think of it as the most important moment of a golf swing is impact. It's the moment you strike the ball, right? So if I can get to impact in the most efficient way, consistently, same spot, same position, same shaft position, then I can be a great ball striker. But that's why Mo was a great ball striker. So when I took video of Mo that day, when I watched him on the range, I took it home with me and I studied the video. And my ambition was to just feel what he was doing with the movement of the golf club. What is his club to body relationship? How is he getting the club to return to impact in the most consistent way. And that was my goal when I watched that video. But then I made a discovery. And the discovery was this. If you take a look at Mo and see what he's doing at address, and he sets up with a golf club, you see how the club points to the lead side of his body. So if you draw a line on the club, it goes up to the lead side. Now here's what became really fascinating about what I saw. As Mo started taking the club into the positions of his backswing, I drew a line, then I'd draw another line, then I'd draw another line, and I'd draw another line. And as I kept drawing these lines, I noticed that all the lines intersected right above his lead hip. It's very interesting that entire club to body relationship was always pointing above his lead hip. But here's what became even more fascinating. As he took the club to the top, you notice that obviously there's an angle between his arms and the club, and that is no longer pointing at that pivot point. But when he released his hands, you'll notice that it touches him right there at that exact same point. So in other words, even throughout that entire backswing and at the top of the swing, he had a relationship to this point. Well, why is this so important, this point? Because that's exactly where the club will be relating at the moment of impact. That's what I call the lead side club to body relationship. Now watch when I demonstrate this, and I'll just do it with my left hand. You're gonna see that if I maintain this relationship, it always returns to the exact same place on the lead side of my body. So I'm getting the exact same shaft angle, the exact same shaft position, and the exact same position and impact. This was one of the absolute secrets to Mo's ability to return the club to impact, was how he was keeping the lead side relationship. And it did something else as well. So now I noticed, well, he has this amazing ability and this relationship of club to body that when you do it, when you look it down the line now, when he takes it back, if you keep that relationship, the club moved exactly where he was putting it on plane. This solves the swing plane equation, and you don't have to think about your swing plane, because as long as you have the lead side relationship, you have the club on plane. Now, one final note here is the genesis of how I designed the single plane position trainer. One of the issues you're gonna have is make sure you hold the club correctly, and that's why I designed the single plane trainer. Basically, it's a long extended shaft that when you hold it correctly, and it has enough flexibility in here. You want it to have a little flexibility. You don't want it too rigid, because it's going to be bumping you in the side. And you get your hands on there correctly, you create the club to body relationship. And now by keeping it against the side, I'm able to build in the exact lead side relationship into the backswing and then into the top. And then I can keep that relationship coming down, and look at this, it returns to that relationship at impact. And my hand position is critical to get it on there so it can work correctly when it's delivering the club into the impact area. So I designed a trainer to produce exactly that motion of the club to body relationship. That's the discovery I saw with Mo. Now I want to make one final point to this, is that one of the most important things that you make sure you develop when you're doing this is you get the club face on play. Now what does that mean? Well, when you're at the top and your hands work correctly, the club face also needs a plane. I put a black mark here on the single plane position trainer, and when I take it back, you're going to see it stays connected to my lead side. You see the pivot point, and then put my hand back on there, and then you can see as I go to the top and I leverage the top, you're going to see when I look back, you're going to see the black mark is right in between the trainer. You don't want to see it where it's disappearing or in the wrong position at the top. So you should be able to see that black mark. That's indicating the face plane at the top, and you'll even see the face plane coming down, and then you'll see me return that to impact here, and that'll be going directly towards the target. So now your hand position is correct. This is how you train a perfect impact position, and this is the secret I saw in Mo Norman's golf swing. Yeah, so welcome back, and I want to show you one quick thing about the single plane trainer. You know, I carry this in the bag here, and you know, it's pretty long, so it's 5 feet long, but it comes apart. There's a little set screw in here, and you can just put it back together. So that's one of the features of the single plane trainer, is that we can have it in the bag, carry it with us, and then put it back together when we need it. So one of the things that you saw in that video was how the club has a lead side relationship. And some of the other things that this trainer is allowing you to do, because one of the things that's so important about developing this lead side relationship and getting to impact more consistently, obviously, is the grip. So the single plane trainer has our feeling great in this training grip on here. And let me kind of explain the grip just for a second, just so you know what this grip is actually doing. The grip has actually a flat side here, has a place for your thumb, and then basically when you hold it basically into the heel pad, and you place your thumb into that circle. Now, why is this flat side important? Because not only is the single plane trainer helping us with this lead side relationship, but I got to get my hands working correctly as well, because the way the arm works and the way the thumb works on the hand allow the face to plane. You saw at the end of that video where I talked about this black little line here. That's allowing the face, so I can check the face plane. Well, the only way the face is getting on plane is from proper lead hand motion. So that's why the back of the hand now aligns correctly to allow the face to plane. Very important part of the single plane trainer. And then the grip also allows my trail hand to get on there correctly. Now, the hands are very close together when I use the trainer, but here's what you saw in that video too, and if you want to back it up, you can check this out later. Notice how my trail arm is bent at impact. So that's a very important part of impact, is the trail arm isn't straight, the trail arm is bent. This hand is slightly hinged this direction. Now, it doesn't start out that way, but it impacts that way. So having your hands correctly placed on the trainer was a very important part of getting this correct. Obviously, it has a bit of flex to it, so when you bump yourself, you don't hit yourself too hard. And then, obviously, it's creating that lead side relationship. So what you saw me do in the video was maintain this relationship of club to body throughout the motion all the way to impact. You don't want to go too far past impact. Right here is great. And you can see now I've created exactly where Mo is at impact. And one of the things that I think is missing in the instruction when people talk about getting your hands leading, because if you're a guy that maybe flips the club early or hits behind the golf ball, even tops the golf ball, if any of those things are your issue, it's because you're not getting the hands to lead. Notice how there's an angle to the shaft. So the single plane trainer is teaching us how to create shaft lean. But in order to do that, we have to have the body in the proper rotation. Remember, it's a club to body relationship. In other words, my body has to be in a particular position for the hands to be leading and the trail arm to be bent. So all those things are in place. Let me show you a quick drill here where I walk you through this, and then I'm going to show you this and then how it puts you on plane. So one of the drills, and you can find this in our Graves Golf On Demand. I'll put a golf ball here. I use my alignment trainer when I do this. I'm putting a ball down here at iron ball position, and then I put one about 6 inches back, 6 to 8 inches back here, and then take the single plane trainer and go straight back, one single plane trainer length, and then go 1 foot to the inside. So basically 12 inches from there to the inside. So you're getting kind of a little station build here. So I have the ball that I'm actually hitting. I have the ball that's behind it, so a few inches behind it. I go 1 trainer length back and then to the inside. So what I'm going to do here is kind of train my backswing and my downswing to give me the feeling, remember the feeling I'm trying to get of most positions. Now notice at address that the single plane trainer, because it has this lead side relationship, is not pointing at the ball that I'm hitting. Keep this in mind, it's behind that. Now, when I go to take a backswing, I'm just going to turn away, and there's that first move. So that first move. Now, notice when I do that, my hands aren't hinging the club. I'm not picking the club up. It's not arms only. It's everything turns together to go, and I'm just pointing, and I can do it without looking at that ball. I'll just turn, and I'm keeping the same relationship. First move. So you see me make that first move relationship into the backswing. Now, here's what's really important about that, is that everything is turning together. And so one of the things that the single plane trainer really helps me with is it helps me get everything moving together, because I still have the club to body relationship in the first move. And then I'm going to keep turning, and I'm going to fold my arm up, and when I hinge up, it points at that ball. Okay, so now I'm pointing at that ball at the top of my swing. I'm going to blend that together really quickly. So I'll go to first move to the top. I'm going to hold that just for a second. Now, that's what puts me on plane, because when I go into that first move and I go to the top, you'll notice that single plane trainer is directly on the plane where it started. It's on the same plane from here to the top. So Remember earlier when I talked about this, if I get the movements correct, then I get on plane. Now, here's why that's important. So some people say, well, why is swing plane so freaking important? Because I have a lead side relationship. Think about it this way. If I took the club back and it was straight up and down, see how if I unhinge it, see how it hits me in the leg? Well, I can't get the handle to the lead side because it's not on plane. So what happens is I've lost my impact relationship. What if I had the club flat at the top? So what if I'm at the top and I'm flat? Same problem. See, this would hit me in the shoulder if I unhinged it, right? So now I have to basically reroute the club to get it to the impact relationship. So not only is it teaching me the first move of the swing, it's absolutely teaching me how to get it on plane. Now, what I like to do is after I've gotten the feeling for this, remove that ball, because a lot of people get caught up in kind of stopping. And now I'm just going to work on first move and then blend to the top. I go to position 3, and then watch this. I should be at the first ball now. So it goes position 1, position 2, a transition to position 3, and then when I impact, I should be pointing at the first ball, and my arm should be bent, and I have the lead side relationship built in. And notice I'm also rotated. See how my body is open? You want your body to be open. I cannot get to that first ball if my body doesn't open up, right? I got to have my body open. So this is not just teaching arm motion, it's teaching body motion as well. Now, I want to show you a quick video where I do this on the range and I blend these positions together. So a couple of things I like to do with the single plane trainer, and this is really something I use on a daily basis. It gives me the feel of the lead side relationship, the club to body, and it gives me that connected feel of how I stay connected. But one of the things that I like to do with the single plane trainer is it's teaching me the relationship of the club to my body. It's teaching me the lean of the shaft. And let me explain that for a second. You'll notice that when I set up that the club, my hands are forward. It's making this alignment with the lead side of my body and the lead shoulder. It's creating a push forward of the hands, creating what I call a shaft lean. When I look down, the shaft is angled to the lead side of my body. That's where you want it. That's where it's going to be at impact. Now I'll take the club, this is the first thing I'll do with it, is I'll take the club and just make sure that it has the same lean as the trainer. So I can obviously do that and then drop the single plane trainer down and hit a shot, and I can feel the initial club to body relationship right at address. That's just a nice way to practice. The other thing I like to do is what I call blending. So you'll notice that the goal of this trainer is to make sure it creates the lead side relationship. And so what you see here is it's maintained in that first part, then I go to the top, and then I come down and I return. Well, you don't always want to stop. You don't want to just stop your swing, go to the top. I want to blend it together. So after I get that feeling, see that first initial feeling, which I believe is one of the most important feelings of the swing, is that first move. So here's my first move. Then I'm going to blend it. Then I blend it to the top. And so what it's staying connected and then blending. So now that's exactly how I train my swing. And then I can blend my downswing. So I go to the top. Now here's the downswing. There's position 3 and impact. Backswing. Now I'm going to blend it all together. Now I'll blend it. And I hold the impact. Blending. So you don't want to just stop, 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 stop. That's the first way to start. Then you got to put it all together and blend it together. And now you've created a perfect lead side relationship. And after you feel that a few times, you grab a golf club and you try to emulate that exact feeling. So now I'm going to blend my backswing. You can even do a few reps like this of that same feeling. I do it all the time. And then I'm going to blend it all together and hit a shot. It's a great way to use the trainer, creates the lead side relationship, makes you better at impact. You know, one of the things that is so important is position 1. And I want to kind of refresh your memory on this, because if you've never seen my instruction before, we do a lot of measuring of the golf swing, and position 1 in the first move, and I'll go through this in a second. The first move is such an important movement in the swing, and I'll give you a little bit of data on it. Not that you want to get too much into the science of everything, but people kind of take the first move for granted a lot of times. In other words, how the club makes its first 1.5 track in the backswing. And let me kind of just go through it with a golf club first, because The first move of the swing looks like this. So you obviously have that shaft lean I just talked about, and then I'm turning away into the backswing. So everything moves together. Now that means the hips are rotating, my upper body is rotating, and I'm maintaining that club to body relationship, right? We just talked about that. So everything moves together, and then I take it to the top. So the very first move of the swing, matter of fact, to me it's a huge thing in my own golf swing and my own, when I play well, is to get the first movement of the swing feeling really, really good. Because that first foot and a half really determines how I set the club at the top and then how I then move through impact. But let's give you a little bit of the story behind the first movement, is that, and you saw Mo in the video, how he's maintaining this club to body relationship. Well, what's interesting about the first move is that a majority of the backswing movement occurs in that first foot and a half. So if you took Mo and you took him to the top of his backswing, he's going to have about 75 or 80 degrees of torso rotation, okay? So right in that 80-degree range. 80 degrees total torso rotation, okay? So I want you to think about this for a minute. When he's in this position right here, which you'd say, okay, that's just the first moving away, he has about 50 degrees of torso rotation. So 50 degrees, and then he just goes to 80. So a majority of the rotation of the upper body occurs in this motion. So if you don't get this right, if you don't rotate the hands, or the hands come away, or you don't get to that first position, you lose that club to body relationship in that first move, you've really put the torso and the swing plane out of position. Now the pelvis has about 20 degrees of rotation here, so it's got half. So a majority of the rotation of the body occurs here, and then you go to the top and you set the club on plane where Mo had it. I want you just to keep in mind that learning how to make this first movement, I don't want you to take that for granted. It's such an important part of moving the club back into the backswing. You've just got to get this right. And you've got to maintain the club relationship. Remember I started with that shaft lean. You've got to maintain this relationship from here all the way in backswing. Sometimes I'll do it without my trail hand on there, just to feel how it's staying against my side. You'll see, kind of see me do that, where it goes to the inside. That's the exact track the club should make. That's the kind of stuff I was seeing when I was studying Mo, is I would see the club make a track to the inside. So that's the club to body relationship being maintained to that first movement. Then it would just go to the top on plane. And then I put my trail hand on there, and Mo said this is along for the ride. So he turned, this is just kind of underneath the club along for the ride, then it just folded up. So watch me do it down the line. And notice how it goes to the inside and then goes right up. That is the natural way to move the club into a perfect backswing position. Mo figured this stuff out because he started out with such a great relationship to the club at address. He just maintained this going back and then to the top. One of the things that we used to do, we've taught this in my golf schools for years. I mean, ever since I discovered this with Mo, I'm not even sure what year that was, we've been putting in single plane training with, and we used to use, and by the way, when I first discovered this, it was, I mean, when I saw that on video for the first time, seeing Mo in same relationship, to me, it was the first time I was able to actually feel and have this feeling of what Mo did, which was huge for me. But there's one other thing too, and with Mo, it creates width. So not only to teach me what Mo felt here, see how it's staying away from my body, it's wide and then wide. So I'm not pulling the club in, I'm not taking it away, I'm keeping the same distance of my hands from the body. So it created this width too, which is where speed is coming from. It solved so many of the issues for me to get the feeling and hit the positions exactly where Mo was. Now, all of us need to work on our fundamentals. This is a great way to do it, by the way, because this works on so many things. Think about all the things a single plane trainer does for you. It teaches you where you are at impact, teaches you the first movement, teaches you how to stay wide at the top and on plane, teaches you position 3 and impact. The single plane position trainer teaches you all the critical positions of the body in the swing. And with that Purify Your Masterclass, your Swing Masterclass, you now have the training to go with it. Now, generally we charge $400 for that class, but you're getting everything tonight. We're going to throw that in for free for $89.99. You get the single plane trainer and you get the Masterclass as well. Now, why is this single plane trainer such a great tool? Back in the day when I first learned the swing, to use it, we would just grab a stick and we'd do it with a stick. The problem with that is we learned very quickly that you have to have your hands in the correct position to fundamentally get this thing correct. part of what swing plane is how the hands work. Because remember we talked about club face plane. You don't know how many people I see, they don't get the hands on there correctly, and then when they take it to the top, they're at the swing plane and their club will be closed or open. You have to have your hands correctly placed in the club. I talk about unifying the hands. The lead hand position has a lot to do, and Mo talked about the rod. He called this the rod. The rod has a lot to do with getting the first position correct and getting it on plane at the top. That's how you maintain that angle between the arm and the club, and then you return it to the lead side. So this is really exactly how that club should play. And that's right there, that's a perfect swing plane. There's the position 1, plane to the top, position 3, and then down. Another great way to train single-armed. And then put the trail hand on there. So hand position, having the thumb in the correct position, having the hand in the proper position, being able to check your club face, and then get to impact. And the final thing I'll say about this is reps. You've got to get the reps in. And one of the things that people do, and I see it, I've been doing this now for 25 years, is that people run to the range and they hit balls. And I was at a school last week, and people just want to pound golf balls and do the same thing over and over again and never, ever, ever get a new feeling in their motion. Well, how do you get a new feeling? Here's the question I ask at all my golf schools. How can I give you a new feeling, right? And the only way, and follow me on this, the only way to give you a new feeling is to give you a new position, okay? Right, you're like, okay, Todd, makes a lot of sense, new position. However, position isn't just your hands or your arms. Position is everything. It's the position of your body. It's the position of your feet, your legs, your hips, your tilt, your side bend, your trail arm bent. I've got to give you a new position. So one of the things I think is critical, and I'll go back to this impact position because this is where we started the webinar tonight. We talk about this impact position, right? Okay, look at impact for a second. My hands are leading. My trail arm is bent. My hand is hinged. Back of the hand to the target. Lead knee is flexed, and the tilt of my body. So, and my body, by the way, is open too. So I'm open. I'll do it this way. So there's impact, right? Okay, look at my hips and my body are open. Okay. Well, what you need to do is do reps on this with the proper grip. Reps. Hold. If you're out of position, if you can't get back to that ball, if you get here, you can't get back to the ball, fix your body. See that? So release early, fix it. So now I can train myself to feel exactly where impact is and do tons and tons of reps. That's the thing about using the trainers. It's not just something that I use once in a while. I use this thing constantly. Matter of fact, just a quick story before I get to a few questions. I was at the range the other day, and I was watching my swing, and I released the club early one or two times. I'm like, okay, why am I releasing the club early? Got my bag. The very first thing I grabbed up my bag, my single plane trainer. And the reason I was releasing early, which is very interesting, because this is why I release early, I was getting too much lean. When I get lean, see how the club goes a little bit early? See that, what I just did? So I'm releasing early, and I get in the right position, look what happens. So the single plane trainer immediately fixed me because I was doing this, can't get to the ball. Now look at my body position, not as leaned back, more on top of it, more in the correct position. So I solve my swing issues using the single plane trainer because it gives me the feeling of body position, not just swing plane, but body position as well. Do we have a couple questions? So question, what are your thoughts on the interlocking grip? All right, so the interlocking grip, and a lot of people talk about the different types of grips. The grip that we recommend is an overlapping grip. Let me kind of explain why. And those of you new to single plane, you know, here's the thing about the hands. The hands do not move the golf club, all right? So you're not moving the golf club with the hands. They're just clamps on the club. And if I ask you the question, how do the hands move the golf club? And if you say, well, Todd, they do this, that's actually the wrists moving the club. So the wrist, that's wrist action and arm action. That is not hand action. The hands are simply just clamps on the club. So the question becomes, what's the best place to place these clamps on the club? And then you have to ask the question, well, how do you put the club inside the clamps? So the function of this hand is to allow this arm, and notice how I use those terms together, hand versus arm. because the body is a machine. It's working. How I grip the club is related to arm rotation, arm hinge, and even shoulder, and then body position. So you can't just say, okay. And one of the things, as you see, and if you follow our instruction, or maybe you're new to all this stuff, I'm not a guy that says, well, just put the hands on the club correctly. I always talk body position as well. So I got to put the body in position. So the ideal position of the lead hand is when my body is tilted, is to allow my arm to be in its full range of motion and then grip the golf club. And so now you're seeing a lead arm and club alignment, but the back of the hand is square with the face, and the hand, this is the heel pad, so the club is sitting into the heel pad to do that. Now, why is that important? Well, that's important because the function of this arm is, we just talked about this, go into position 1 and then go to the top and produce this angle, but in the proper way, okay? That's what the single plane trainer was showing you a second ago. Now, interlocking is this. Interlocking is when you take this finger and you interlock. The problem with interlocking, and look, I've seen people have some success with it, but it causes one big problem. It puts the hand on top of the club too much, and it puts pressure in different places of the hand. So now look what happens. The club is no longer aligned with my trail arm. And if the hand interlocks on top and goes into a rotation this direction, I have to have a rotation this direction, so it creates a rotation. What we recommend, so I don't like the interlock because it puts pressure in the wrong place and it puts the hand in a top rotation. The ideal way to grip a golf club is when that body is tilted to just set the pinky on top of the index finger of the lead hand and just wrap it around. Notice I gently wrap it around because there's not a lot of pressure in there, and the pressure point is really where this training club, you can see where my index finger is wrapping it around there. So the pressure is on the end of my hand, the index finger, right here, right there. And then now it allows the hands, and here's the key to it, allows the hands to work together. So in other words, it allows the wrists to work together and then the arms to work together. So when I go back, I take it to the top, so now they can all work together, and the overlapping is the best way. Now, 10 finger also works. The problem with 10 fingers, I see way too many people get this hand in this rotation, this hand in this rotation. Now they're out of position. Both hands are out of position. So 10 fingers bothers me as well. Now, you'll notice a single plane trainer has the same grip on it because, again, it teaches you how to get it into the heel pad, how to get the thumb in the right spot, which gets the hand to the back of the target. It gets the trail hand overlapping, gets the trail hand in position, and now I have the perfect grip, which allows, if I have a perfect grip with my perfect tilt and my perfect swing plane, I have my perfect body position and perfect rotations. All those things work together because of a correct hand position, because it's not really hands, it's wrists, arms, shoulders, and body position as well. Next question. So next question. So Mo said in and up and never around. What do you mean by in and up? So here, that's a great question, especially it really relates to single plane trainer. So I want to talk about what in and up feels like, because that's exactly what this teaches you. What is it? What is in and up? And then obviously what would around mean if the club goes around you? So look, the single planer does exactly what Mo just talked about. In is when everything goes together. But remember, that's where most of the rotation occurs. When then from here, when I rotate in, yeah, it's going to feel like it goes up because this is where the arm folds and there's less rotation of the body and the arms come up, because when the arm folds, it goes up, right? This is an upward motion. So you have the inward, no hand hinge, and then the arm folds and takes you up. So in and up. It's exactly what the single plane trainer works on. Now, around would be this. And look, around is when you don't get the up, right? Around would be if I took the club over here and didn't get the upward motion. So around is anytime I go too much. Around is also too much rotation. And I see this a lot where people will, you see, remember position 1 with the single plane trainer? So instead of being in position 1, they just keep going. And then the club's over here, and then they take it to the top. So it goes too far around, which we call flat. That ball position, I'll just do it again for you here, because that's why this single plane trainer is such an important training device, is because I'm going to go ahead and put this down here so you can kind of see the station again. And you can review how I set those balls up in some of our training. So I have that ball back there, so watch. So I go in, and then, see I'm pointing at that ball, then I'm going to point this end at that ball and goes up to do that, okay? If I went too far in, I'm behind that ball, then I can't go up, so I'm too flat. So this is exactly swing plane. And remember, single plane trainer is teaching you swing plane, so anything that's around is not on plane, anything outside is not on plane. So if I didn't hit that position over there, I'm not on plane either. So in and up is the rotation at the beginning, and then the motion of the arms that puts the club right on plane. The upward motion is just the swing plane. What triggers the takeaway? That's a good question. So what's the start? What triggers the takeaway in the backswing? What triggers this whole starting movement? That is why, again, I'm going to relate it to the single plane trainer, because all these questions can be answered with, well, let me back up. Let me answer that question a certain way. All the questions and all golf swing questions, if I sit up here and I answer questions all night long, they all can be answered with just do it correctly, right? Because that will answer it. So if I use the single plane trainer and I get in the proper position, what triggers this movement to this first move, this takeaway? What triggers it? Think of it this way. Notice how I have the lead side relationship. I already have it built in, right? And I feel like the club is stuck to my body. So the only way I can make a backswing is to go everything together. So everything has to move together. So what triggers that movement is I'm moving that everything starting with the lead shoulder, because that's the first part of the movement. The lead shoulder starts rotating. But remember, this is locked in, right? Because I have the club in that relationship. So everything's locked in. So it starts at the lead shoulder, lead arm, hands, and then everything turns together. So think about it, right here in the shoulder, right to the hands, right down the club. That's what Mo called the rod. That is all starting together, and then everything turns together to position one. It's robotic, kind of, right? You'll see me when I practice, I move everything in this unit like this together, just like that. Remember, this is along for the ride. So I'm moving everything together. This is relaxed. There's my position one, straight to the top. I like that question, though, because you really have to get this relationship corrected, addressed, the tilt and this lead side club to body relationship, to make it all feel like it moves together. Go practice, and here's the key to it all. You got to do reps. Get the single plane trainer and do tons and tons of reps. This will help you not only to practice, it's also going to help you if you have a problem with your swing, grab it and feel exactly where to go to get to perfect impact. Now, if you're looking to master your game and become a complete single plane 360 golfer, we've just launched our new Graves Golf On Demand app. It's like Netflix for everything single plane. To get you more consistent, have more fun, gain longevity in your game, have confidence, and of course, shoot lower scores. Graves Golf On Demand is your coach in your pocket to build confidence in your single plane swing, short game, and putting, and it's available on every one of your devices. Click the link in the description below for the Graves Golf On Demand app and start getting the game-changing video coaching you need to become a complete single plane 360 golfer.